Okay, so I've done a little bit of work here without the camera or the live stream going. I want to show just a few things. First of all, on inking, I seem to have come up with a workflow that works pretty well, which is to, if I lock the ink color and I use my super smooth ink, which is it's a brush that's highly smooth, then I can go very quickly and block in my ink with very tight lines. And it's kind of a battle between, do you want the really fine, for lack of a better term, Disney quality ink lines, or do you want a more rough, sketchy type of approach, like I've commented I like in the work of the guys at Studio Trigger, who did Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, stuff like that. And the answer is I want both. So what I'm finding is I can quickly block in the ink lines and get the fine lines. And like I said, the ink color is actually locked, so I can still draw with it. But then if I start erasing, the only thing that disappears is the blue lines. So that's kind of convenient. And then I can sort of realize where I've made mistakes. Like that's a bit of a mess right there. Okay, so I'm using the smooth ink to get it blocked in. Very quickly. And like I said, I can see where I made a mistake. Oops, I'm going to go ahead and put those lines back in. Now I wonder why the ink isn't locked right now. My bad. I unlocked it. Okay, so we're going to have obviously the anime angry eyes thing going on with this guy. In terms of his costuming, he had a band across the top, and he had I actually need to go back and look at that. Okay, yeah, so he's got a headband, and he's got a face mask that goes under his ears, and then he's got his ponytail. Okay. So now I need to unlock that for the moment in order to just cut across here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and erase that whole line, so I get a nice clean line like that. Okay, so then switch to just the sketching pencil, or pen, brush, what I guess you'd call it. Because like putting in his eyeballs, you don't want smoothing when you try to draw a circle. It distorts pretty badly. And so the stuff that I want to have be soft and sketchy, I can go ahead and touch up over top of that, like these hairlines. So I'm pretty satisfied with. Actually, I guess I need to undo that. That was dumb. Okay, so the ink is locked. Erasing the blue lines, and now I'm going to unlock the ink again, and I need to shrink that eraser down a bit. So that takes care of, in terms of like sort of inking style, I'm using the smooth brush to block stuff in over top of the blue lines, then erase the blue lines, and then go back in with the more sketchy brush and tightening it up. Now there was another part I wanted to show. that was a bit nightmarish back here. So he was inked the same way. I guess we want to put a little bit more indicator of the hair in here. Okay, so now in this section, you can imagine what this was, how much fun this was, dealing with this pattern. Now when it plays back, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's not too bad. And it goes by really fast, so it doesn't really have to be perfect. But the question is how to deal with that patterning on the, and just so you know, I can see some things that still need to be tweaked here, some wrinkles in the cloth and stuff, but I just wanted to show how I did that. What I did was I took a section of this pattern that looked good. Okay, I hit Control C, and I'm just going to show you on this same layer how I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and save my work just to be safe. Okay, so in the subsequent frame, which we don't have one, but I'm going to pretend there's one. So I'm going to go Control V, and then what I did was I jumped to this really bodacious color, and I hit Control M to move those strokes to that color. Then I soloed that color. Okay. So now I'm going to move it over here like this. Okay, so in the subsequent frames, now I've got this, and if I use projected 2D proportional editing, I can take and just kind of do this with my mouse and sort of manipulate it like that. So, and then once I was happy with it, I can select all, unsolo this color. Let's do it this way. Okay. Go to ink, and by the way, we need to see that. Hit Control M again, and switch the modified version back to the color of the ink. So that allowed me to sort of, once I figured out a way to deal with how to draw these. Now, the way that I drew them, at first I was drawing the squares, which is kind of insane. So after a bit, I realized, and probably a lot of people would have thought of this a lot quicker than I did, but what I did was I said, well, let's just draw this, and then split it up like this, draw these paths, okay, and then go in and just erase the stuff that you don't want. So even if you had to do some touch-up, that would allow you to get the basic patterns blocked in accurately a lot quicker. So like I said, that was pretty nightmarish. As far as I can tell, I think it's probably gonna be okay. So now I want my sketch brush, and as long as I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and add some stuff to just make it look more complete. Okay, that's not too bad. I think I can live with that. So, yeah, that's fine. So then we're to that. So, anyway, like I said, I was kind of torn between the nice, tight, clean inking style, which is pretty much what you see here, versus the sketchier style, which I think once we go back to our Ninja guys, you see a lot more sketchy style here. I'm actually not sure if I'm happy with that. Obviously, I don't relish the idea of redoing it. Through most of this sequence, it was kind of in the middle. Not too sketchy, not too clean. But the way I'm doing it now, where I block in the bulk of the ink with the smooth pen, and then detail it a bit with the sketchy pen, seems to be a good workflow because it's fast, and it gets me to the result reasonably quick. So I'm going to carry on and do this frame in the same way, and then I'll probably wrap it up for now. So I really like the way this is fast. And the smoothing sort of does a lot of my job for me. Oops. Control Z. Okay, now that that is very irritating. I've made umpteen zillion strokes, and if I hit undo, Blender deletes all of them, not just the last one. Let me see if that's right. Okay, that undid the pasting, so I need to lock the ink layer. I don't trust Blender not to delete a bunch of stuff I didn't want to delete, so I'm gonna lock and unlock. Okay, now I'm back in business. So the thing is, once I've got the basic lines in there, oops, I can use my sketch pen to tighten it up. The main thing is just knowing what I'm supposed to be drawing, right? That I don't know if that made sense, but it'll make sense here in a second. Okay, so what I'm saying is, because the ink layer is locked, I can now go ahead and erase my blue lines. Okay, and now I can switch to my sketchy pen and go in and just start fixing things up. I do need to unlock that layer though, so I can, okay, stop, unlocked, D key, erase. This is where Blender kind of falls short. You know, like in Krita, you just hit the E key and you're in erase mode, and I'm not even going to finish that sentence. It's hard to explain, actually. It's very difficult to explain the subtle differences between different programs, where what seems like fairly minor things in your workflow, like having to do 2 button presses instead of 1, just stupid stuff like that, can make a really big difference in whether you're having fun, you know, getting the work done. I was getting a little frustrated earlier today dealing with the layers, and what I think I've arrived at is, with layers, I don't really want to now this is kind of an interesting point. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was thinking there was a mask here, but there isn't. The mask is here and here, so I'm just going to put subtle lines there that Krita will be able to detect for painting purposes. So yeah, it is hard to describe the difference. I think I would be probably using Krita a lot if it had keyframe interpolation and the ability to group layers, you know, and then animate them as a group. I'd probably be using Krita all the time, because then I can do both. I can do all the paint and the drawing, the painting, the inking, yeah, everything. You can do everything, and theoretically you can do that with OpenToons, but as I've mentioned other times, it crashes so much, and it's a little funky about how it deals with your assets. I had some stuff, I think it was last week, where all of a sudden a bunch of pictures I drew just like disappear and never got saved, and you know, for obvious reasons, that's not super acceptable. So okay, so that feels pretty good. On to the next. And this whole motion's going by really fast, but I would say all in all, the quality of that ink, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I mean, this is actually HD would look about like that, so not horrible. I don't think we're going to really know what we got until we go ahead and get this thing colored and get the first scene you know, rendered out and composited, and then we can step back and say, okay, how's this working? So probably sounds crazy to even think about doing a whole scene like this, knowing that you might decide, you know what, this isn't working, we're going to chuck the whole thing. Not chuck the project, but chuck the particular scene. Actually, that's not really quite right. Okay, because his ear's going to come under like that, and then he's going to have that. Okay, that's, you don't want to move your pen too fast if you have a lot of smoothing on it, because Blender actually over smooths. Yep, see, like that's a great example. This is why I said you don't want to do eyeballs with a smooth brush, because you draw your circle and then it shrinks it a lot. It really changes it. For a lot of stuff, that's exactly what you want, but not always. So, wonder if we've heard from the plumber. Still nothing. That guy, what is he doing? Okay, so now I'm going to lock the ink layer so that I can erase my blue lines. See what I've got. Turn that back on. Okay, switch markers or brushes. So that I don't have all the smoothing. And then add my more sketchy line work. I think we will call that frame done. Well, not quite. Almost, though. Okay. We got to put this little spiral thing. And all I can say is I'm glad that goes by fast, because this is not like the best thing I've ever drawn. But it is only 2 frames. Actually, that helped. Okay, all we've got is one more frame here. I'm actually going to zip through with my sketchy pen and see if I can just get it blocked in without the smoothing going on. That's wrong. That right there is wrong. That's got to be a little lower. Boom, 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 boom. I guess for me what I'm finding is, once I know what the drawing is, I can just kill the blue lines and piece it together from there. The problem with not using the smooth pen is you wind up having to go through and smooth everything. It's a little shaky. And the closer, if you zoom in on the lines, like, of course now that I do it, it won't. Actually, that's what's interesting about it, is at this scale, it's fine. But, okay, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's a better example. See how scrubby that is? You have to smooth it out, and it's just got all this jitteriness to it, I guess you'd say. So that's actually sort of a confirmation that doing the initial broad inking with the smooth brush makes more sense. you know, but this, you know, when you zoom in with Blender, you can kind of see what you're in for. Oops, sorry, I gotta make that way smaller. You can see what you're in for in terms of what your lines actually consist of. Now when it renders out, it sort of clumps them, you know, they all get blurred together because it has to figure out at the scale of pixel by pixel what it is supposed to, you know, render. And for the most part, if you're using a 1 pixel brush, that works out fine. I don't know if all that made perfect sense, but and let's see here. Okay, and then we got this, so I'm gonna lock the ink layer and do some erasing so that I can keep moving forward with my blue lines turned on. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's do a quick review, and then I'm going to say I kind of intended this to be a shorter video because I wanted to show this, what I did to work with that pattern, and then basically the inking technique I'm using. It seems to be working pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and just run the whole animation through one time for review and call it good. Nothing much has changed on the front end. So she's still going to be just breathing. I guess we don't need that layer turned on. Cuts to the wide shot, pans up. Bad guys climb into frame. This guy's struggling. Oops. Poof. She notices something's going on. Turns over. He's worried. He's ornery. They're going to climb a little bit more, but then Akari knows what's going on. So I should be able to have the ink all done tomorrow, and then maybe today actually, but certainly by tomorrow. And then that means after that we're going to be able to get this thing painted, and then we can start dealing with compositing on backgrounds and all that sort of stuff. So that's it for now.